Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? Adjman sent a job coming to you guys here today with another product opening. So, today we have the Gatecrash event deck, Rally and Rout. So this is the Boros deck that Gatecrash has come out with in terms of event decks. So we're going to take a look at it here today. I went to my local game store and actually purchased the two event decks with the intent of reviewing them as a competitive Magic player. I like to open up the different products that Wizards has to offer and just see what ideas they have for kind of like deck building, what they have for like a slow start for anybody that's trying to get into competitive Magic, and just try to kind of like assess it and possibly make some suggestions and improvements to it. So that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to review this event deck, and I'll try and make some suggestions for what to add in or what to take out, anything that I really think about this deck. So we'll open it up here right now. Alright, so this slides out very nicely here for us. And as we can see on the box, it says Gatecrash, Magic the Gathering on the top. Looks pretty awesome. The box is reusable, so that's always another awesome thing about buying these types of products. You actually have a place to store your cards. So once we open it up here, we can see we have our sideboard. We have our divider for our sideboard and our main deck. We have a guide towards how the deck is made, just kind of like a brief overview. And I believe in this guide there's also a list to the other event deck and what all cards are included in the other event deck. So they kind of put that in there so you can see the other deck list, and maybe it might motivate you to actually buy the other event deck. So we have that, and we also have a how to play Magic guide. So this is just a more general thing for anybody that doesn't know how to play Magic. They don't know the rules or any of the kind of fine things about Magic. There's this guide insert that you guys can read about that. So we'll put these off to the side. And then we have our main deck here and all the cards that we have included. Inside here we can see it looks pretty nice. There's a place to store your cards, and I believe that it will fit cards that are sleeved. So if you have like Ultra Pro sleeves or something like that, KMC sleeves, Dragon Shields, anything like that, if you sleeve your cards, they will be able to fit into this slot here. We also have a spin down die that comes with the event deck. So this is the Orzhov one. They're randomized, so it's not like you're gonna get the specific guild that the event deck is featuring, like this one being Boros. But we have a spin down die so we can track our life total, which is pretty cool. Alright, so we're gonna put this box back together and put it off to the side. And now we are gonna take a look at the main deck of this event deck, and then we'll take a look at the sideboard and what we have included for the sideboard here. So we'll tear into this. Alright, let's see here. So the first card that we have is Boros Elite. It's a 1/1 for 1 white, and with Battalion, whenever Elite and at least 2 other creatures attack, Boros Elite gets +2/+2 until the end of the turn. So it's a really nice, tribal kind of human creature for a weenie build, where if you're playing off of enough things early on, you can just bash in for a ton of damage really easily. So we have a playset of Boros Elite in this deck. We also have Champion of the Parish here, which is our first rare. He's a 1/1 for 1 white, another 1-drop white creature. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Champion of the Parish. With a human theme to this deck, I would definitely add 3 more Champion of the Parish. They're not way too expensive. They will cost you a little bit of money, but Champion of the Parish is a really cool card to be able to add into this deck. We have Doomed Traveler, which is a 1/1 for 1 white. Whenever he dies, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So we have a playset of Doomed Traveler. We have Firefist Striker, which is a 2/1 for 2, and whenever it attacks in battalion, it's able to trigger off. Target creature can't block this turn. So that battalion is actually pretty powerful, just because you already have like a good advantage of being able to put out a lot of creatures really early on. So with Firefist Striker, you should be pretty well in your ways of being able to just pick out one creature that you don't want your opponent to be able to block with, and once battalion hits, they won't be able to block with it, and you can effectively do a pretty decent amount of damage. So we get 2 Firefist Strikers. I might even consider adding in more. This guy's a pretty big house. I really like him in the deck. So if anything, I would probably consider like maybe putting in one more Firefist Striker, just because I really like him. Lightning Mauler is a 2/1 for 2 as well, and this guy has Soulbond, so as long as it's paired with another creature, both creatures have haste, and we get 2 Lightning Maulers. Lightning Mauler, again, I think it might be a card that I would add in like one more of. I mean, it's fine just as a 2 of, but being able to give haste to your creatures, like if you're able to go like turn 1 Boros Elite or Champion of the Parish, turn 2 Firefist Striker, and then like Lightning Mauler the following turn and swing in, like that's just really awesome. And have Lightning Mauler paired to something so that Lightning Mauler has haste. It's pretty solid overall. Even if like it's like the mid game and you have like 4 mana open, and then you go like Lightning Mauler, Firefist Striker from there and Soul Bond them from that point, you just get 2 haste creatures, which is awesome in one turn. Then we have Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, so another rare for us here, so 2/1 for 2. They have a lot of 2/1s for 2. 1 generic and 1 white, first strike, and non-creature spells cost 1 generic mana more to cast. So this is really awesome for this deck, whenever you're playing up against other decks where they have a lot of non-creature spells. You're able to make things more expensive for them to cast, and that's a perfect spot that you want to be in. In the sideboard, I would suggest running more Thalia whenever you get into the matchups where your opponent's running a lot of non-creature spells and you can really throw them off of their game. So Thalia is really awesome. The only downside is she's a legendary creature, so you can't like put multiples of them out and just like stack the abilities, but Thalia really is just awesome. We have Ash Zealot in the deck, so 2/2 for double red, first strike haste, and whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, Ash Zealot deals 3 damage to that player. Ash Zealot's another really good card. I like the fact that she punishes anybody that's playing like flashback spells or anything like that. So Ash Zealot's pretty cool. The double red I could see being a little bit tricky sometimes, but at the same time with fixing, it's not that bad. We have Sunhome Guildmage, so 2/2 for 1 red and 1 white. 2 abilities, first one for 3, second one for 4 mana. The first one being creatures you control get +1/+0 until the end of the turn. The second one being put a 1/1 red and white soldier creature token with haste onto the battlefield. So Sunhome Guildmage kind of gets you into that perfect position where, alright, I have the mana open, I can't do anything else, I'm just drawing lands. Well, let's make 1/1s. And that's pretty solid from there. So Sunhome Guildmage is pretty cool. Truefire Paladin's also in here, so 2/2 for 1 red and 1 white, Vigilance, and 2 abilities as well, both being for 2 mana. First one is he gets +2/+0 until the end of the turn, and the second one is he gains first strike until the end of the turn, and it kind of goes based off of however you want to use them. But Truefire Paladin being able to buff himself up and also give himself first strike is really awesome. So we get 2 of those in here. We have Silverblade Paladin, which is another rare, 2/2 for 3, Soul Bond, and the paired creatures are going to have double strike. So Silverblade is just nuts. I would probably suggest adding more of him into the deck over some of the other cards. Some stuff that might be a little bit more lackluster. Silverblade Paladin's awesome. He's a little bit expensive. Like he's not like ridiculously expensive or anything like that, but he costs a little bit of money, more than Champion of the Parish, I would say. Then we have Skyknight Legionnaire, so 2/2 for 3 with flying and haste, so pretty plain card. We get 3 of those in here. It just kind of lets you play off of Battalion a little bit earlier, play like 1-drop, 2-drop, drop a 3-drop with haste, Skyknight Legionnaire, and you get to trigger off your Battalion effectively. We have Spark Trooper in here, which is a 6/1 for 4, 1 generic, double red and 1 white. Trample, lifelink, haste at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice Spark Trooper. He's a pretty awesome card. Just being able to gain back 6 life, and if your opponent doesn't have blockers, deal 6, it's pretty solid. Then we have our lands, so we have some Boros Guildgates, we have 3 of those. We have a Clifftop Retreat, which is an awesome dual land to have in here. I would definitely suggest adding in more Clifftop Retreats, and also possibly some Sacred Foundries if you guys are able to actually attain them. Shock lands are always good. We have a Slayers Stronghold, which is another rare for us. So taps for 1 generic mana, and for red and white tap, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains Vigilance and Haste until the end of the turn. And then we have our basics here. Go through our plains and then go through our mountains. And then we're getting to the non-creature spells. So we have some Pillar of Flame. And Pillar of Flame is really cool. Pillar of Flame lets us deal 2 damage to target creature or player. If the creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. So playing up against like a lot of small creatures, we're able to just be able to deal with them pretty effectively, and we don't have to worry about them. It's also a pretty good card up against zombie decks because they run like Geralf's Messenger, Gravecrawler, stuff like that. So we're able to get rid of them pretty easily with Pillar of Flame. We also have Searing Spear in here, so we have 3 Searing Spear, and it's deal 3 damage to target creature or player for 2 mana, 1 generic and 1 red. So it's another pretty good card. It's pretty cheap to cast as well, so it can get around Thalia even if you have it out there. So Searing Spear. We have Gather the Townsfolk, so that is a playset for us. So it's a 2-cost card sorcery. Put 2 1/1 white human creature tokens onto the battlefield, and Faithful Hour, if you have 5 or less life, put 5 of those tokens onto the battlefield instead. So Gather the Townsfolk is pretty awesome in being able to give you more guys that will potentially put you in the spot where your battalion can trigger off. Like turn 1 battalion creature like Boros Elite, turn 2 Gather the Townsfolk, turn 3 swing with those 3 creatures if nothing else, and be able to trigger off battalion. So Gather the Townsfolk is pretty cool. And we also have Boros Charm. So Boros Charm is awesome. We get to choose 1. Boros Charm can deal 4 damage to target player or permanents you control are indestructible, which is just nuts. Or target creature gains double strike until the end of the turn. I think the best thing about Boros Charm is being able to give all of your permanents indestructible against like anything your opponents try to do. So that's always awesome for 2 mana. So that's the main board that we have here. Let's pick out the rares out of here and take a look at those. Just because I know people are going to be interested in the rares that we get out of this. Even if it is just to like trade them, or if they're going to look for more things that they can add in. So we have a decent amount of rares. I believe that's it. Yeah, I believe that's it. But like Boros Charm is another really solid card, and it's actually worth a little bit of money too, like a couple bucks. So Boros Charms are pretty good, at least at the time of this recording. That could change. Things always change as time goes on. So we have the main deck there. We'll kind of spread these cards out here so we can just look at them. So we have, what, 3, 6, 7 rares out of this event deck, which isn't bad. For the money that you're going to pay for it, it's not bad at all. Now, let's take a look at the sideboard here. So, with our sideboard, we have Electrickery first. So, it deals 1 damage to target creature we don't control, and it has an overload for 2, 1 generic and 1 red, where it's going to deal 1 damage to each creature we don't control. So Electrickery isn't like terrible. It's not a bad card, but I would definitely try to run other things, like maybe like Mizzium Mortars or something over it. I think it's a really good card, but there aren't like a huge amount of creatures that you're going to run into that have like 1 toughness where you're able to deal with them. There's some situations like running against like Lingering Soul tokens and stuff like that where you can get rid of them pretty effectively, but aside from that, I don't think you would really have a whole lot of use with Electrickery, but it just depends on what you're playing against and who you're playing against and stuff like that. We also have 2 Skullcrack in here, which says that players can't gain life, damage can't be prevented this turn. Skullcrack deals 3 damage to target player for 2 mana. So it's a really awesome card. I would actually consider running 2 more of them. Whenever it comes up to playing against cards like Sphinx's Revelation, Thragtusk in the standard format, you're able to respond to those cards with Skullcrack, and your opponent doesn't gain life. In the case of Sphinx's Revelation, they're still able to draw cards, but they can't gain life, which is awesome. And with Thragtusk, they still get their creature, but they can't gain life, which it still gives you a pretty sizable advantage there, because they might have been banking off of gaining that life to keep them in the game. From there, we have Bonds of Faith. So it enchants a creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 as long as it's a human. Otherwise, it can't attack or block. So it's kind of a versatile card because it's an enchantment that's going to pacify your opponent's creature. For you guys that remember Pacify, it's been reprinted like hundreds of times, so chances are that you guys probably know Pacify, but it essentially has the ability of Pacify where if it's not a human, it can attack or block, but if you're using it on one of your human creatures, your human's going to get +2/+2, which is awesome. So we have 3 Bonds of Faith in the sideboard. We also have War Priest of Thune, which is a 2/2 for 2, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target enchantment. So we have 3 of those to be able to combat other things: Blind Obedience, Oblivion Rings, Detention Spheres. There's a lot of things that War Priest of Thune can hit into. So we have 3 of those. Oblivion Ring, which lets us exile target non-land permanent. And whenever it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. And it's an enchantment for 3. Oblivion Ring is awesome because it lets us get rid of other creatures, planeswalkers, anything that's a nuisance to us. And then we have another Electrickery. That was just kind of hidden in there. All right, so we don't have 2, we have 3 Electrickery actually, because one of them was hiding back there. But we have 2 Thunderous Wrath, which is a instant speed card for 6, 4 generic and double red. It deals 5 damage to target creature or player, but if we're able to cast it for the miracle cost, whenever we draw it off the top of our deck, if it's the first card that we drew in the turn, we're able to just cast it for 1 red and deal 5 damage to target creature or player. That's pretty solid. So the 2 Thunderous Wrath are pretty nice in there. It's not like the best card, the most amazing, because it forces you to play it whenever you draw it, but at the same time, the miracle cost is it's pretty nice. Being able to just deal 5 damage for 1 red is really convenient. It's just value. You just get value out of it. So overall, I definitely would recommend buying this deck. It's definitely good for somebody that's trying to get into competitive Magic and you want to have like somewhere to start with it. Definitely buying one of these event decks is what you want to be doing. You get 7 rares just right off the bat. It gives you a good idea of things that you should be buying, like more Champion of the Parish, more Thalia for potentially for the sideboard, more Silverblade Paladin because Silverblade Paladin is just a boss. Clifftop Retreats and Sacred Foundries as well can be added to fix up the mana. But ultimately, I think this deck is really awesome. It's really good as it is to just take to an FNM event, but if you want to get more serious, you can always add in more expensive cards to it. But if you guys enjoyed this unboxing video, please be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe for more Magic the Gathering content. If you want to purchase one of these event decks, there is a link down below where you guys can actually check them out and purchase one up on abugames.com. But until next time, guys, have yourselves a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.